Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Grow Hour. Big Earl, my brother, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for asking, brother. You want to know why?
Why?
Because it is Thanksgiving, the eve of Thanksgiving. We're recording this, and I get to smoke some fucking delicious flower that you grown called Strawberry Haze. That's an oldie but a goodie. I had one nug left, and I'm super stoked to smoking this. And it is what we like to call Green Wednesday. We're recording on today. What are you smoking on, my friend?
I rolled up. What did I roll up? What was I trimming today? Some gelato.
Oh, I cannot wait. Yeah, I'll see you in a week.
Apricoma 5 from Seattle Chronic. So good.
Mm.
This one is the apricoma. I can just tell by the nose on it.
Nice. I'm excited about that. Is that the ones with the CBG in it and all that shit that he grows, or no?
I know what? I honestly didn't get the spectrum of them, but I don't think so. With the lineage, man, dude, it's a apricot cross. An apricot straight THC, I know. So maybe some came from the other. I can't remember the lineage. He sent me, a few plants, and there's plants always running in and out of my mind every day, all day, doing all this shit. But tastes super good. It smells so good. It overtakes the garden. I had a lot of really terpy plants in my garden this last run, and the Apricoma 5 was the one that, you had to, trail to see where it was coming from initially. So I, smell it, and I'm like, where's that coming from? Smell this plant? No. Smell this plant? No. It's getting stronger. It's getting stronger. Oh, no, this fucking plant.
What's great is I get to see you next weekend, so I'm looking forward to smoking all the new stuff.
It's all new. I'll have a little bit of that old, the stanky glue. I got that 9 coming and some of that stuff, but everything else will be new, man.
It's funny. I got a message from a DM from a new listener out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he was saying how much he enjoys both shows and invited Susan and I, Mrs. Weedman and I, and Yuki up to his cottage. It was kind of funny. It was great. But then he said that he was going to come and meet you to hopefully get some seeds off you soon.
Nice.
So,
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I mentioned him yesterday on the show, and hopefully he listens to this show too. So thank you, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for the great note. And Big Earl's looking forward to meeting you. Follow him on the Regal Beagle.
I am the Regal Beagle, yes, sir.
I am the Regal Beagle, and follow him on there so you can check out his seed collection because it is spectacular. So, and I've grown a few strains from Big Earl, and I love every single one of them. So, we were talking before the show about some new music that came out and what we're listening to. And I told you the other day, my son Paulie, who has done the show with me early on in the Chronicle days, Weedman 420 Chronicle days, he sent a text to Mrs. Weedman and I. And said Kendrick Lamar dropped a new album unexpectedly. Didn't tell anybody about it. And I tell you what, I like Kendrick Lamar. And his new album, he went back to his old, nice. The way when he first started. But what he did was what I thought was really dope. Yeah, he threw a lot of old school mixing in there. Some old school house. Yeah, not even just scratching, just more if you listen to the album, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some old school, late 80s hip hop dance music stuff in there. And some of the songs threw me back to an era. I was like, holy shit, man, I haven't heard this fucking song in forever. Yeah. So the new Kendrick Lamar album is what I've been listening to when we were talking about. What about you? What have you been listening to?
Dude, I've been getting on, I don't know why. My go-to lately has been female rappers. Bro, I've been getting down with Queen Herbie and Sophie Hunter and 4 or 5 of them. I should get my Spotify out. I do a lot of Discover Weekly, honestly. If you guys have Spotify and you're not using Discover Weekly, it's a gold mine, man. It takes what you listen to normally and says, hey, I think you'll like this too. And it's almost every week there's at least 1 or 2 songs that I'm keeping in mind.
Nice. If
you haven't checked out Sophie Hunter, check her out. If you like little hip hop, poppy kind of music, she's super fun and grimy, and you'll like her.
Grimy, I love it. That's my kind of music. Also, we got some fun things going on because everyone will probably listen to this after Thanksgiving, but it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving week. Like I said, it's Green Wednesday today, and tomorrow will be Thanksgiving, as we call it here in as our stoner burner pothead friends out there and gardeners out there. Thanksgiving tomorrow, so we'll all know the cousin walk will happen after dinner. We'll all take that little cousin walk around the block. Oh, we're gonna loosen up a little bit.
Yeah.
Smoke the shit out of some weed. Get back. Everybody's all glass-eyed and fucking ready for dessert. So, yeah, that's fun and new. How about you, brother?
Yeah, dude, I'm having fun. We're doing a lot of fun new stuff in the lab. We're layering media today, which is new. We got from a friend who I'm trying to get on the show. Hopefully he comes on, but he started layering his media so you can there's some stuff you can do that maybe plants don't like so much, but it keeps a certain bug away, or it keeps something going away.
Nice.
So layering top and bottom, you can kind of get the best of both worlds. We're hoping. And in the garden, yeah, just do all new stuff. Like we said, everything coming in fun and new, doing a lot of fun new stuff, and super busy.
So excited!
Having tons of fun.
I haven't had gelato in a long time, so
it's supposed to be the gelato, the 33, I think.
I still have some of that bubble gum left that Mrs. Weedman and I smoked yesterday. I love that shit. So I'm looking forward to something I haven't smoked in a while. Gelato. It's been a minute, probably a good year. I mean, I think I've smoked some gelato crosses, but I haven't smoked straight gelato. And if it's the real deal, I am excited, everybody. So excited.
A little gelato and a little gelati, the gelato crust of biscotti.
Oh.
And I've had some biscotti, but that, unfortunately, is all. She's a very small plant, and she is gone. But the gelati and the gelato, I'll make sure you get some.
Nice. I'm excited. So, but this show I'm super excited about something different here. What we're going to be talking about today is mitigating and containing contaminations and the dreaded disease.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get to it, Big Earl. What can we spread? Like, I remember you teaching me I remember you teaching my early days, like making sure, like when I first got Yuki, you're like, make sure when you're in flower, your dogs don't go in your flower room or when you're flowering with your tent. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense because they're outside running around, running through bushes, running through trees. They're going to collect something. But the first one you're talking about is bugs. We had a great IPM episode a while back ago. That gentleman taught us a lot about IPM. And what was his name again? Eric, thank you so much.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have him on again soon. He's been super busy. They're that insectary he works for is a big thing. So
I bet. So what can we spread? And bugs, and you said all of them.
Yeah, all the bugs we can spread. And on top of that, bugs spread everything else. So we'll talk about some things which people may or may not know of in the garden, but some things spread through touch. Some things, when you touch, that's typically meaning like touching an open area, a wound, taking a leaf. If you're touching like a mold spore or something that's formed on the leaf, stuff like that. And some will spread through the air. That's just, you can be in the same room. That's a big misconception. I've had people not quite get that if a plant is showing powdery mildew in a room, every plant's been exposed to it in the room. Those spores are everywhere. Now, if you have a super healthy plant, if you're doing some different stuff, your IPM's right, maybe every plant doesn't get it. Maybe you don't give the plant that shows the powdery mildew very much time to express the powdery mildew, But bugs is a good way to make sure that everything gets spread to everything immediately. And that's what, it gets into your plant, it eats part of the bugs we don't want in our garden, we don't like in our garden, eats our plant or our root. Right? The top or the bottom is the root's part of the plant, but it's either the green that we see or the root. When it eats that viroid, that pathogen, any of it, gets on that bug. That bug goes to a new pot, a new plant, it transfers automatically. There's ways to have some different smaller problems and see it and contain it and not have it ruin your garden. Just because you see a few mites, if you're scouting early and you say, holy crap, I'm noticing a few spots on this leaf. Check it. Oh man, this is, thrip damage is pretty easy to check. Right? Pretty easy to see. Okay, there's some thrips on this corner of this tray. If you can catch it in that area, first off, just cut that shit off and you can go with it. Spray it down with some alcohol and water, cut that shit off, throw it in a bag right as fast as possible. Get the contamination that you see out as fast as possible if you can. But even if you don't, I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but that's just the easiest way. Get it out. Especially if it's, if it's week like 7 or 8, it's like, well, fuck, especially if you got some nice flowers on it. But if it's like week 1 or 2, even if it's a plant, if it's the full plant, like get that shit out. Just get the bugs out. That's going to be the easiest way. If you can fill it in week 2 and you can fill that area in a little bit, get that plant out of there. It's all freaking bugs. But one thing, the worst part about bugs, some bugs are super shitty to get rid of. If you're doing good scouting, you should be able to get on it fast enough to not have it be a super huge problem. If you don't know what you're looking for, sometimes that's a little harder. But yeah, the big thing is that this other stuff we talk about, they're gonna pretty much guarantee it spreads. That's the big thing with the bugs. So like mildews and molds, for instance, that spreads in the air. So like powdery mildew we just talked about, botrytis. Botrytis comes out in your flower, but it gets in your plant before it's drying. Oh. It gets in your plant before it's drying. You see it when it's done drying because you're trimming it. It's in that plant, especially if you have big buds. That shit can be in there early. It just gets worse as it's drying. It comes out as it's drying, and those can go through you. You can go through your whole garden instantly. I can tell you this: if you're running a garden that gets really humid at night, really dry during the day, your stomata are opening and closing. You get one plant in there with powdery mildew, probably every plant's gonna have powdery mildew very, very fast. You're not gonna be able to apply enough. Every time it gets really humid, the powdery mildew is gonna spread. Every time it gets really humid, the powdery mildew is gonna grow. Every time it gets really dry, it spreads.
Oh wow!
And so it wants the humidity to grow, and then when it's dry, it floats through the air really easily. Also, at the same time, the stomata on your plant are opening and closing, breathing in, breathing out. Guess what they do with that? They take in those spores. So if you can have a plant with powdery mildew, if you can keep your room, specifically humidity, but if you can stabilize your temperature, it makes stabilize your humidity much easier too. You can stabilize your humidity. You can have plants with powdery mildew, the disease, that don't actually show powdery mildew, the powder, the spore that spreads.
Huh.
That's what sometimes, especially back in the day, so back in the day, what would happen was somebody would have a perfect, you'd have a really great growing environment, or your IPM would be knocking out the powdery mildew, right? Or back in the day, a lot of people use stuff like Eagle 20, which is systemic, is going to stay in your plant, is going to take that powdery mildew away immediately. And so somebody's using something like that, and they don't see it, and then you get clones off of them, and all of a sudden you're like, well, what the fuck? Well, they go into the really humid dome, and then who knows what happens? But that's the one of the gardens I have right now. The very first run I ever did in it were plants that came to me that started expressing powdery mildew 3 weeks into flower.
Ouch!
And it was well, the chances of that coming from outside are, I guess average, but it's not an old garden. It didn't come from equipment. Equipment's all brand new. It's like, fuck, these probably came on this plant. So yeah, you have to know is it's spreading by air, because that's just a little bit different. You just treat it a little bit different. Is it spreading by water only? Is it spread by air and water? So any fungal, any pathogens, that can spread by air too. If you have fusarium or something that's showing on the leaf, that's if you've gotten, they're decrepit circles that lighten or darken on the outside. And it almost looks like a calcium deficiency.
Right.
But it can be a mold. It can be a mold in your plant, and that can spread by air. That can also spread by root. So if you're on a recirculating table, everything waters, it goes down in the same reservoir, it mixes up, it waters, it goes down in the same reservoir. A lot of these diseases like to hang out in the roots. A lot of this stuff will come out of your roots and go down pretty much all of it. But that's, yeah. But then it goes to, so anything fungal basically is spreading by air, right? But then when you go to these viroids, HLVD, everybody has talked about it. Well, can you beat it? Some people say no. Some people say you have to meristem it. Some people say that you literally with a meristem, you usually can't get it out anyway. Some people say it has to be from seed. Anyway, what it can't do, though, is just spread by being in a room. If you're recirculating, it can spread. If you're not cleaning your scissors with bleach, alcohol doesn't kill the viroid, the HLVD in particular. If you're not cleaning your scissors, if you're not cleaning them long enough, if you're not changing your gloves, all this stuff can transfer. If you pop off one leaf from a plant that has HLVD, the sap from where that leaf's going in, the little wound sap from where it popped off the plant, it goes on your glove 100% of the time, like at least a little bit. You touch the other plant, it gets in there, your new plant has HLVD. Watering, you say you're watering, even if you're hand watering, right? You're hand watering, nothing's recirculating. The top of your pitcher is touching the bottom of the plant, hits a leaf, falls off, or it touches the soil with a dead leaf in there that has some kind of something. You can transfer it.
Wow.
But that's not, if you take that is a few small steps, right? That's saying, okay, I'm going to take these few small steps so that these viroids I can't transfer. I'm not transferring anything with my touch. The air, that's a little trickier, in my opinion. The only thing that has one up going on the air is that typically just keeping things clean, keeping good air movement, keeping good filtration, knowing how the diseases and all that works and changing how you garden to it can really take a lot of that down. But bugs makes it all super shitty. Bugs. It doesn't matter how you're watering. It doesn't matter how you're feeding. It doesn't matter how many pair of gloves you go through. It doesn't matter how many hair nets you have. If there are bugs, from gnats to root aphids, which if you got gnats that you can't get rid of, check that shit again. Probably root aphids. I know I've said that before, but gnats, I've never had a super hard time. You know what I had a hard time getting rid of gnats? When they were in my fucking drain.
Yeah, those are the worst.
Oh, bro, I couldn't get around my drain, but in my pots, I've never had a super hard time. But root aphids, on the other hand, adult flying root aphids look like gnats. You have to get them on a yellow sticky, magnify them, and say, "Holy shit, this is a root aphid, not a gnat." Because I'm gonna get it mixed up. One of them has a much larger, longer wing that goes past its ass, and the other one has a much more round wing that doesn't usually goes past its ass. They look fucking identical, dude.
Really?
And it's like, yeah, so identical that sometimes I have that conversation with people and I think I'm crazy. I'm like, so you've done this, you've done the gnats, usually mosquito dunks, DE works pretty good. Any kind of pyrethrum works really, really well on them. There's so many ways to kill gnats, and maybe I'm just never had them really bad, but the drain gnats, dude, where they can get on top of the drain or go over here, over there, and you just can't get the whole thing. Those dudes don't quit.
Yeah, they suck. I didn't have a grow going, but we got some in the drains, and they're fucking little bastards. Fucking took forever. Took a good month to get rid of those things.
And some places, I've been in gardens where their drains are connected, and it's super, if it's going way under the ground and coming back up, I get that. But if it's a trough above ground, some of those more open drains, and you're connecting to the room next to you, that bug just got to walk through its merry playground of wetness and molds and things it loves to go to a brand new room. So let me check out these flavors now. But
let me fucking make this grower's life miserable.
Yep, I'm just gonna pop over here. You had a problem in this room, but now it's in that room. Right. And there's nothing you can do. If your stuff's not set up that way, there's just you can change everything, you can do everything. You can move right, to mitigate, to lessen your chance, but sometimes things just aren't set up right. But all that aside, you can move pollen, you can move oils, you can move dusts, you can move everything in. Anything that's touching you, you can move into your room. Some of it's really terrible for your plant, or could be. Some of it doesn't matter. Any of that gets on your flower, you're not going to want. So that's the end game here. A flower that's touched as little as possible by fucking anything.
That's fucking viroid. I mean, I had one problem one time in my grow. I had fungus gnats, and those little bastards sucked. Took me a hot minute to get rid of those fucking things. Yeah, I know. No, they were fungus gnats because I think I sent a picture to somebody.
Dude, they look identical.
Identical, yeah.
Magnified. There's one picture online that has them side by side, and I always have to refer to the same picture. And then I go into I throw yellow cards in. I go onto my yellow cards if I notice gnats or anything. I wait for a few to be caught. I go into my yellow cards. First, I notice that there's a difference because a lot of times it can be both. If they're all the same, then I try to identify. But it is, I mean, and maybe I'm just really terrible at identifying bugs. It's really hard for me to identify them. Like to be like, this is for sure a fungus gnat, or this is for sure a root aphid.
Yeah. I finally got rid of those little bastards, though. I remember I was fucking laying in bed looking at my phone. All of a sudden, one flew right on my phone. I'm like, you motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, and that's all it takes. Like a fungus gnat.
Yeah.
Stupid little fungus gnat going from one plant to another in one day. It can
Yeah.
you know, like.
Yeah, because we got plants throughout the house too, just little house plants and shit too. Those, I mean, they got that one little bug or spread. Poof, it was fucking terrible. So,
Didn't Eric give us? Was it Eric that gave us a really great? Man, how did I was told a really great way to identify the difference at one point without doing a picture or anything. Somebody told me that the fungus gnat, the root aphid's on a mission. So if it looks like a gnat and it's flying from A to B, root aphid. But the fungus gnat is like this idiot bug, and it's gonna be like,
yeah, oh, they're terrible. Yeah,
and so if it's like flying all around or like attracted to just the light, then you know, back in the day, you knew you had bugs because those bugs would be burned on the light. All of a sudden, you'd be like, oh, those bugs flying from that light is that. Sometimes you see little puffs of smoke,
like a fucking like a bug zapper back in the day out in the porch. You hear a big old bug get zapped.
If you were smelling bugs, you knew you had a problem.
How do we keep things separated but together?
Separated but together. Yes, that takes a lot of lawyers and multiple houses, and can you? Not really. But you can do things. It's all about cutting your percents. That's how nothing's ever. A garden's a living thing, no matter if you have one plant or 5 million plants. A living thing always has chances, right? A person who goes through they eat the perfect diet, exercise the perfect muscles, everything's all perfect. You can still get a cancer. You can still get something. It's the same with the garden. Your rooms are set up perfect. Your drains aren't connected. You're washing before you go in, changing into scrubs, putting on a beard net, putting on a hair net, changing gloves every time you change plants, changing scissors, cleaning, doing the works. You could do the works. Something can still happen. When you're watching, you have to do the works, but then you also have to watch. So doing the works just mitigates. It takes it down. You say, okay, I'm going to cut this to a 5% chance. And then I'm going to take that 5% chance, and I'm going to cut that down to another 5% chance by taking this step. And then I'm going to cut that down by another, and then all of a sudden things have to get really unlucky in a row for you to get a problem. But keeping them separated but together, clean yourself, sanitize as much as possible. Clean your area, sanitize as much as possible. By that, I mean like in between plants, all around plants. Don't let dead leaves or anything be around. Be very aware of when you touch something. If you touch something else, be very aware of when you break a plant branch or a leaf. Be very aware of when you touch roots or soils that have had plants in them. Just know that touching one and then another, that's cross-contaminating. If you have the rule of thumb typically is going to be the same strains, right? Excuse me. Same strains are cool. Same strains a lot of times say, hey, a lot of these problems when you do everything right come from the mother. So a lot of the thinking is, well, if this has a viroid or this has a problem, it came from the mom. Every plant probably has that problem. If it didn't come from the mom, these all were next to each other at least. It could have possibly spread. Changing scissors, when you have 1,000 plants in a room, changing scissors every plant is pretty fucking unreasonable. But if you're running, you know what I mean? Like, we just need 20 grand for our starting scissor budget, please. And it's not like you change them, you soak them. What most people will do is the 20% bleach, you soak them down. I don't like the springs hitting. But then you have to be conscious. You have to know you're not cleaning your springs. So if you're not cleaning your springs, but then you're handling your springs with gloves that you handled the plant with, guess where you're cross-contaminating at?
On the
Something
springs.
something as stupid as the springs can be. You know what I mean? But when you soak into the springs, that bleach just fucks them up. You can't dry the springs like you can the scissor ends. So usually just be conscious of it. Soak that shit. Make sure it's soaking for at least 20, 30 seconds. And so a lot of places will do either a pair of scissors or gloves with each plant. Or if they do change scissors every plant, you just soak. You get 2 pair, maybe 3 pair, and you're
Hmm.
bop, 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 bop. 3 pair labeled 1, 2, 3, so you know you got the ones. You're putting those down. You're grabbing the twos because those have been in there for a plant already, so they've been in there for at least 45 seconds or whatever. If you're when you're flying through these plants, and that's how you run. And then you change your gloves every strain. But some people say change your scissors and your gloves every strain. Because you're also a lot of times you're not just clipping everything with the scissors. You're popping things off. Your hands moving in and out there. Even if you are cutting everything with the scissors, wrist comes across this, hand comes across that. So just know where you touch. Be conscious where you've touched. Be conscious where you stepped. Be conscious of everything. Everything can cross contaminate. So if you're gonna have things together but separated, that's gonna be as good as you can do is by not touching that and then that. And then something I really like is I like to fill niches. I like to use science and biology, like trichoderma.
Science.
Exactly. There's something for everything, right? But something like trichoderma, you get that going in your soil, right? That fills the same niche as fusarium or a different fungal disease that is going to maybe not start in the if it spreads by air at least in the roots, but it certainly likes to hang out in the roots. And so this goes into the soil. You have your army of trichoderma in there. These other things, when they go in there, they get killed by this fungus that you're harboring there to specifically do that. They have predatory funguses with that exact same mindset where you put them in your soil. You are now feeding for your plant, but you're also feeding for the survival of this fungus.
Got
You
it.
have to know what that fungus likes, the pHs, the humidities mostly, and temperatures and shit. How it likes to be applied. Is it a drench? Does it like all of it? You have to just kind of know. You have to know you're harboring and trying to create something else there to fill this niche. But when you do it successfully, your leaves can have different funguses and different things there that aren't expressing themselves, or bacterias. I think they usually are. Making it so that the party mildew can't get in there, can't get on the stomata, can't or through the stomata, making it fills this area and it kills these things, and especially in the soil, it kills these things. And so you can say, okay, I'm going to stop my cross contamination, but just in case all this stuff goes right, I'm going to have my last line of defense here. And that's by simply creating something that fills the areas that these problems will come in at. Nematodes is the exact same thing. There's nematodes, which is a bug that you can have and put into your soil.
The best. Nematodes the best. I used it on my lawn for like 2 years straight and I didn't have a bug problem. I stopped using it. My bug problem went insane.
Dude, they make nematodes for different depths. So and different problems, like fungus gnats you would treat with probably a different nematode than maybe a root aphid, because fungus gnats are more shallow than a root aphid kind of shit. Root aphids go down into the root ball. They get deep. They want to harbor down. So that's why they suck to get rid of, because it's hard to soak and to treat that. When you have something in the roots, you have to literally soak your pot in something that can completely drench it. That's hard on the plant. If you don't have the right medium, it might not even be real. Like, you might not even be able to do that. If you have like something that with a low porosity and vermiculite, and you only like to water once a week, that might be really hard to do and then have a happy plant for it,
Right.
But there's all kinds of different ways of it's about, to me, and to I think a lot of people, being proactive and not reactive. It's about being in front of it, because once you get party mildew, once you get these problems, a lot of this stuff isn't. Then the problem already has its dominance. The bad is already there. So when you reintroduce the good, the bad kills it. The roles reverse. The difference
it's like playing Uno. Reverse.
Yeah. And the difference is the one helps your plant and the other one eats it.
Right.
That's what everything we don't like is the bugs are cool that don't eat our plant. That's every there's good mites, there's bad mites. There's good molds, bad molds. There's all kinds of good and bad, and we're getting pretty good at I think as a cannabis community, and maybe just a gardening and farming community in general, using a lot of this new stuff. I think because it
Right.
just seems to be around a lot more. There's a lot more strains. There's a lot more options. Back in the day, there was maybe one or two different things. You say, "Oh, this seems different. This seems new. This is an extract of that." But now there's like multiple companies who are offering a lot of these different, variations of these niche fillers.
Right.
But
What's
yeah,
what's you talk a little bit about air contamination versus the physical contamination.
yeah,
What's the difference kind of between the two? You're going to go through a little bit of it. You got some great notes here. I love it.
yeah. It's literally that. Some stuff can travel through the air, and some stuff you have to touch. Like, and knowing the difference there, um, is huge. Knowing how things spread. That's how do you know how to move in your garden if you don't know how it spreads? If you're putting the peanut butter in the freezer, you're probably not going to think it's a very good topping for a sandwich. And so, excuse me. But yeah, it's
Mrs. Weedman's peanut butter edible cups that she makes for us.
so good.
You don't want frozen peanut butter, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to take you a while. You're going to look like your dog's trying to eat one of their frozen treats. It's fucking numbing. But yeah, and knowing how it moves. It has a fruiting body, like a fungus or mold. It probably moves pretty similar. It probably grows in humidity and moves in the dry. It probably moves by air. If it's something that is in the plant, a viroid or virus, it's going to move by touch only. So that's maybe not super important all the time, but it is important. Not so much on you just treat everything like it can not move, and or like the air moves it and you can be extra safe. But it can be important when trying to, let's say you get a plant. Well, let's just talk about getting a plant that has hop Latin viroid. You're getting your shit tested. You're doing your due diligence. All of a sudden, a plant pops positive. You don't know how. You don't know from where. Well, if you're not covering your tracks, your whole garden's gonna fucking have it.
Ugh.
If you are covering your tracks, if you are doing these things, you might get just a plant or two. You might have this move. You might have who knows how it got in there. You might have been in somebody else's garden at one point, and these viroids. HLVD, why it sucks so bad is because it can last for like 2 weeks. I think it is 2 weeks.
Oof.
2 weeks. So like on your skin, it wouldn't be like that because your skin has its own shit that'll take care of stuff. But you have a pair of gloves. You're going around. You have HLVD on something. You go to somebody else's garden. Say you go to somebody else's garden. They have HLVD on something. You're just in their spot. You have gloves. You're doing it right. You take those gloves off. You put them in your pocket. You get home. You realize that they're in your pocket. You take them out. You throw them away. Then you go into your garden. That there's a sap on there or whatever you want to call it, moisture that comes from a plant that you were playing with in the garden for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden that's on your finger. You just touched the glove 5 minutes ago. You touch your plant. Boom. That's how simple it can literally be. But if you know how you're moving, if you know what you're doing, if you know it can be transmitted that way, you can say, hey, whoa. Dude, I take so many showers compared to what I usually take in since I started this lab. This last year, man, every day, 2 showers. Usually. My days off, not 2 showers, but any day I went into the lab.
Do you wear a full body suit?
No, we wear big lab coats when we're in the back, and then change shoes.
Gotcha.
And then it was a lot of alcohol sprays and yeah, it's a lot of alcohol sprays. And we aren't touching, when we in the lab, we don't have full grown plants. So if we're touching a plant, it's with autoclaved scissors and autoclaved forceps. So they're completely sterile. It's in a hood. It's completely masked, a complete jacket on that goes down to your knees.
What,
hairnet,
when you're
everything.
doing surgery or Rachel from Deep Roots, do you go forceps, scalpel, forceps,
Scalpel. Yeah,
scalpel?
it's like the beginning of the Brain Damage by Eminem.
Yeah,
He's convulsing.
Forceps, scalpel,
Scalpel. Yeah, I'd feel a lot
sponge.
cooler if I
No,
did.
you go. Rachel goes.
Damn me.
Nurse Earl,
Yeah,
sponge,
dab me.
sponge.
Yeah. It would be a lot cooler that way. Usually it's me like trying to hold one hand under the thing while I grab another scissor because my scissor touched the other thing, and I'm like fucking stretching and trying not to fall out of my chair. It's much less cool, but it's fun. But yeah, so we don't have to. Our cross contamination is stopped right there. We get our strain. We do what we need to do, whatever we're doing with it that day. Everything gets wiped down. Everything gets cleaned off again. Completely new set of utensils. And move on. Clean gloves with bleach and alcohol, or get completely new gloves. So it's much easier than in a garden, you know.
Gotcha.
But in a regular garden, sometimes it's hard. It's easy, dude. It's easy to go into your flower room and put a branch up, and then go into your vet. You know, like it's just easy. So it's just about being conscious about it. If there's a word of the day. You know, let's say be conscious about what you're doing and know how you're moving.
There it is. There it is right there. Confucius says, conscious is key.
Conscious is key. Yes. Your consciousness is your art.
Oh, yes, Master Earl. Oh, yes, Master Earl.
Yes, you smoke enough weed, it makes sense.
It does. So bringing down the air contamination, there's a bunch of different things here to help bring down the air contamination. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Air contamination, they've, all the normal stuff, HEPA filters, really nice. They're a little expensive sometimes. They can get clogged really fast if you have a dirtier area. Charcoal filters I like. If it's humid, charcoal filters will lose effectiveness very fast for smell and for cleaning the air in general. We've talked about it before, but it's a powder charcoal, and when it gets humid, the powder rocks, like turns into little rocks, and air goes through the rock instead of through the powder.
Oh, nice.
So that's about 70%. If your area is 70%, your filter's not going to last very long. If you can keep it between like at 60, your filter can last a little while.
Nice. The one that you always talk about, that you've talked to me about, and I still haven't bought one yet, is that ozone.
Yeah, ozone scares some people. I don't know if I'm smart enough to know when it should and shouldn't scare everything, but what I do know is that don't go around the bulbs. So I used to have a little machine that was like made for a square footage. I'm not such a huge fan of that, so the square footage one, it relies on filling the air with actual ozone. And that's what the regular bulb will do also. But when you can expose that light from the actual bulb, that's when you get super nice sterilization. So I've moved typically to these bulbs now, and they're open face, and I just have them go off at night when I'm not in the area outside of my garden. And they're set for 15 minutes, and everywhere within 15 feet, 360 around this thing, completely gets sterilized as this light hits. And on top of that, it adds that extra, it turns the oxygen into O3, I believe. I'm not a chemist. I'm just trying to remember what I'm told. It turns the air into ozone, and so it also floods the area with ozone. I don't use it in my garden, but having it around the garden, I can say this too. We've used it in the lab, and we have set out trying to collect like anything floating around, and the place came back clean. We use pretty much a combination of all this. We use charcoal, HEPA, ozone. And then my personal favorite, all these expensive ass filters, all that shit, 20 by 20 box fan with a 1-inch 20 by 20 filter. You can get charcoal filters, you can get HEPA filters, you can get all kinds. Yeah, it's not going to be like the big, way crazy expensive one. I do that. I tape around it. Each filter's like $10 maybe. If you're buying in bulk, maybe even way cheaper. And they last at least a month, and they keep things very clean. They make them in charcoal that can help with the air smell a little bit. You can layer them. So if you want like a pre-filter or something in front of the charcoal, it can last 2 months. Like they're pretty diverse if you get creative with it. So the box fan, super cheap. You can find it for $20. You can start filtering your hair for like $30,
Oh,
$40.
nice.
It's just that easy way, that cheap
Yeah,
way.
that's pretty sweet. Does charcoal filters go bad after a while though? Do you got to change them?
Oh yeah, yep. With the humidity especially. So
Okay.
I think I've said this before. Never buy a charcoal filter on like resale. So charcoal filters when there's high humidity, 70% or more, like do not last. I mean, I'm talking months before their effectiveness is pretty far down. If you can keep your humidity under 70, preferably like 60-ish or lower, maybe a year or two. And a lot of this depends too on how much air you bring through it.
Gotcha.
So if you're like really pulling air through a small filter, it's going to get clogged faster. It's going to go bad faster. But way to make them last a little longer, keep the humidity down. Pre-filters are very nice. Change your pre-filter every couple months. As soon as you start to see it get dirty, try to change that bitch. That's keeping your regular filter clean. But charcoal filters are how a lot of the old automotive stuff, like with all the bad shit. That's at least what a rep told me one time, that a lot of the old automotive stuff would use charcoal filters, and they just kind of transferred over to cannabis because you had to keep things not stinky.
Stinky.
Stanky.
I like this. I like the stanky though.
Yeah, I know, but your neighbors might not.
Yeah, that's true. How do you bring down the physical contamination?
Physical contamination, the gloves we talked about, clean them a lot. Clean them with alcohol and bleach. I like to go bleach first, then alcohol, because you can kind of like clean off the bleach with the alcohol. Changing gloves all the time sucks. Your hands are sweaty. Putting on a new pair of gloves sucks. Waiting 30 seconds to a minute with your hands in front of a fan sucks. So I get it, not wanting to change gloves all the time. I don't like doing it either. But I have a spray bottle at the lab, at least. There's a spray bottle everywhere. Spray my hands down with the alcohol. And if I'm dealing with a plant or something that could have possibly had a viroid, I also try to use bleach before the alcohol. But
gotcha.
A lot of the stuff you don't have to worry about. If it's just like, if you haven't touched a plant, alcohol is going to be fine. If you touched a plant that hasn't been tested or hasn't been tested in a while, well, bleach might just help you out there.
Just a little
make sure
bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bleach, baby. Clean your scissors like we talked about. Clean them with the bleach and the alcohol also.
Don't forget the spring. Don't forget the spring. Clean the spring. No spring. Clean the spring.
No bleach spring. Yeah. Or just have a bunch of extra springs because that shit's going to get rusty and nasty. Spray a lot of alcohol and water. I know it sucks. It's 70-30, fucking 70% alcohol, 30% water. Spray it. That kills like pretty much everything. There's very little thing. It doesn't kill viroids, or at least hop-latent viroid, and it doesn't kill russet mites. That's it. That's what you need the bleach for. But
damn fucking russets.
Dude, the russet mites suck. And maybe bleach does kill them, but it doesn't kill them. It never killed them for me. I think hair protection is a big thing. Like the dogs, that's a big thing in flower, obviously, but like with us too. Having something over a beard, having something over the head, washing, like make sure that what you are protecting is clean. As shit happens. Don't overlook things too. Shoes, hats, glasses, all that stuff can be the stuff you can overlook. So you're coming in and you say, you're not paying attention to your glasses. And then all of a sudden, everything's clean. You got all the shower, all this. You put on your glasses or your phone. Just make sure you're wiping that stuff down, or using a sterilizer, or something. It's all. It's how you act, how you move in your garden. It's like a ballet. Everybody has their own dance. Every gardener has their own dance to every garden. And if you're not paying attention where that next foot's going and where you're doing, I don't know the terminology, your silhouette, where your nutcracker in. If you don't know you're about to nutcracker, you just then things don't look as good. Things don't you do your dance in your garden and you move with your intentions. You realize when the worst part of all that is when you fuck up and you have to say fuck. Now I have to change my gloves or I have to go shower or change my shirt or whatever. Like, and it seems stupid. And you say that's just such a stupid waste of 5 minutes. But it's like, wait till you can get a virus or viroid because of some shit like that. Then it'll be very, very much worth it.
Right. You got to post a picture on our Vipers channel of your dogs. Our Big Earl has three wonderful dogs that hang out in his garden. They're only allowed in the veg room. They are not allowed in the flower room, and he has them so dialed in. As soon as he walks into the flower room, they stop. They don't pass they don't even fuck with, not even past the threshold. They don't even fuck with the threshold. They just stop. And you can see their faces, like how bad they want to go in that fucking room, but they know that they know.
They won't be anywhere they're not supposed to be.
Your dog, I love all three of your dogs. They all three have different personalities. They're so fucking fun to watch the three personalities and watch how they play against each other and how they try to play the person they want to hang out with. It is Yuki gets confused by the three of them, by the way. They've hung out and Yuki's confused by all three of them. It's so funny. What's going on here? Yeah. Because all Yuki wants to do is play. And the three of them, because they play all day, because they're three dogs together, they want human attention. They want to see what human they can get to pay more attention to. It is fucking classic.
It's all about that capital TREAT, which I can't even say right now because probably somebody's gonna start sniffing at the door. But that goes to that hair, and even in the veg, like if we've been on a walk. If it's been a while, they haven't had a bath or something, or a brush, haven't been brushed. Like I'm not letting them even in my veg, and it's just, I love them. They're good dogs.
They're very good dogs.
You gotta do what you gotta do,
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. You gotta protect that yield.
And it's how are they gonna get the new kibble? How are they gonna get the new TREATSs? If the weed ain't coming out.
Right, 100%. And the new toys too that Papa Earl brings home every once in a while. And you got to bring three toys. You just can't bring one. That's the problem right now. You got three different dogs that like three different kind of toys. And Jethro, if you don't know Big Earl's logo, I am the Rig of Beagle, is Jethro, his beagle, and Jethro is King, La King. Nobody fucks with Jethro. He runs
King sausage.
He runs the show.
He doesn't have any front teeth anymore. He's all fang. He's all fang these days. He's barking his ass off. But it's I had russet mites. I had the great russet mite infestation of 2020. Took down entire farming communities. But Oof. No, I don't know. I took down my farming community. But so I get these russet mites. First time I ever fought russet mites. And I take down before I knew what was going on, they were there. They were ingrained. I took down everything to a clone. So I took rid of everything, my entire garden, took down to my clone, did full dips. I'm trying to remember it completely, but knowing probably pyrethrin and a alcohol soap dip separately. Did everything I could, to get these gone. Completely redid the room, took clones out, and I completely redid my veg, sprayed everything with bleach a few times, which is what kills russets. Did the same to my flower. By the time that next batch was getting into the flower, very obvious I had russet mite problem again.
Oof.
And I was like, what the fuck? The first time I thought I got it from a garden. So these russet mites, it turns out, were coming from my fucking yard. And so I sprayed. I sprayed my yard. That was part of my dance in my garden. It was out of my garden. It was to spray my yard. Now I spray it every year. I spray it every year, multiple times a year. I spray my house. I talk about it all the time. Diatomaceous earth. Man, throw that in a sprayer. It works so well. Get it on a day where it's not going to rain for a while. Make sure it's setting out everywhere for a couple of days. That shit is so nice in the garden, around your house. Around the house, I like to sprinkle it. You know, you have an ant hill you don't want, diatomaceous earth. But the spray, I spray under my deck. I spray my wood, like that I'm going to burn. Spray my yard a few times. I do all that shit. And I have not had them come back. I did that same thing again. Did a little more emphasis, and I think I used Sufoil X the second time. I used some different products, but then treated my yard, was a little bit more careful about how my dogs moved. I haven't seen them since. So knock on fucking, wood.
Damn little fucking russets. Fuck them bitches.
Russets suck so bad because they're so small and they're so hard to identify. Like by the time you realize it's russets, you think it's a bunch of other stuff. They attack the new growth, so the old growth looks fine. It looks great, but the new growth gets like yellow and spindly, and so you think it's this, then you think it's that, and once you've seen it, I think you can probably identify it. But I have PTSD from that shit. Anytime. Sometimes
those little fucking bastards got you, Big Earl. Those little bastards they fucking knocked you one. I can't believe it.
Down. when you sometimes new growth is a little light green anyway, especially when things are really blasting out. That new growth sometimes, like really right down at the base of it, is a little lighter green anyway. And so sometimes I'm just like, it's like just a flashback. But yeah, dude, paying attention, doing all this, everything we talked about today is that's just the end of it. You also have to pay attention. You have to look for stuff. If you haven't had mites, go and look and see what it looks like, because webs, if you're seeing webs, that's way past when you should be identifying mites. If you haven't had, you know what I mean? Like,
you're literally fucked then.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what happens. A lot of people go there. Like, I haven't looked in the back of my corner of my tent or room or whatever for a week, and you go back there, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit! The last time you looked back there were some mites, but there wasn't a mite problem. Now they've had a whole week or 2 weeks to just procreate and do whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, if you haven't, with bugs, I look at spider mites, look at thrips, look at russets and broads, russet mite and broad mites. Look at root aphids and fungus gnats. Know how to identify those. With other stuff, look at hop Latin for sure. That's going to be like a lot of vertical branching. Things just aren't going to be as vigorously growing. Hop Latin. The thing that sucks about hop Latin is your plant lives, and it doesn't necessarily look super shitty. It just grows differently.
It just looks sickly. It looks like it looks like it's got a virus. Yeah. Like when we get the flu. Dude, we're still alive, but we look like fucking hell. You know what I'm saying?
It's like if we got the flu and couldn't get rid of it.
Right.
That's what that is for them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've seen pictures and it's just like, man, look at those sad looking sick plants. You just can tell. You know?
They do. They suck. And that's one that's really deep. When it's not super so hop Latin is all in the how filled with the virus the tissue is or the area is. So some plants, say the plant just got hop Latin and it started on the left side of the plant and it moves however it moves. I think it goes down to the roots first and then it kind of comes up. But you get a root, you take clones off the other side of the plant. It's possible to take clones off of a plant where that viroid hasn't completely spread through. It's also possible to take clones off of that plant where you just can't detect the viroid that came through because it's so small and you need so much of it that it can just be there. And that's why they say a meristem is needed for the hop Latin in particular. So that mixed with the fact that it can survive on its own for up to 2 weeks in the right conditions, fuck,
that's scary.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I would look up that. I would look up, if you've never dealt with Fusarium or Pythium or any of the fungal different, what I would do is I'd Google 5 most known pathogens, because there are a lot of pathogens there and a lot of viruses and different stuff that are popping up in weed. They're probably literally, Rachel found one at the lab the other day. She was like, holy shit, I only saw that this was in weed one other time. I can't remember what she said it was. But we had a plant that came in and it died pretty quickly in tissue culture. And it was like, what the fuck is going on here? And so when it died, one of it had this mold start growing out of it. She was able to take that, put it on a plate, and culture it, is what they call it, and then grow more of it. And then you can take that and you match it somehow, dude. I wish I knew. I don't know. You match it somehow to other shit. And it comes back and say, hey, that's what this is. It matches on this level. So this is how you identify it. And it was something that she could only find one case of it being in cannabis. And it's like, well, shit. Like, how many viruses and viroids and different shit is out there that we just don't test for or don't know to test for? So that's a big reason to move this way.
Right.
You don't know. You might be getting everything tested for like 10 different things at a lab. You know, there's a bunch of different shit you get it tested for. Let's say 10 different things. They're just $20, $15 a test. You can't get it tested for everything. That's crazy. Like there's tests out there you probably can't even find for cannabis. Like the plant can probably have it and you probably can't even find it where to get it tested for. And so it's like just following your trail, knowing where your trail is, knowing where it goes. I heard of this really cool thing. So, man, I was talking to somebody and they were talking about how they tried to teach their kid about spreading germs. And they make this liquid now, or it was something where you touch it, and everywhere you touch it after that, like, will glow when you turn off the light or when you put a black light or something. And it was to show how you could move around. And he was basically just saying like how the house lit up, you know. And he was saying that like you don't realize you just touch everything all over the place all the fucking time. And it does. It's from handle to handle to handle to cup to drawer to remote. And so in the garden, just being a little bit more conscious about that. And you're gonna, maybe you'll never have to deal with anything anyway, but you're certainly gonna mitigate.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Keep it clean. Move right. Strong side, left side.
Well, Earl, Big Earl, I appreciate you teaching us about mitigating and containing contamination and disease. Tell everybody where
makes sense.
Yeah, I feel bad you lost your fucking the Earl 217 account, just like I lost mine. But you do have a couple other accounts, so tell us where we can find you out on Instagram.
Yeah, dude, I'll be honest. I don't mind. It sucks losing the account, but I'm looking at it as a rite of passage. Never had an account taken before. I feel it's about time. Yeah, exactly. It's about time. That account's been out had a good run, a good strong go. So the Earl 217 isn't around. I might make another one. I don't know. That was my personal one. But I still have my Regal Beagle. I am the Regal Beagle. That's up for the seeds, and all the tissue culture and clone stuff is on Generation 0. Generation .0, and the O of 0 is a 0.
You get to see little aliens in the petri dishes. If you go on and take a look at that Generation 0, it's kind of cool. Little.
Those are the Instagrams. And the Discords are on there and all that stuff. All the emails are still around. The link tree is still all right there. So, but yeah, I'm looking at it as a rite of passage. So I bragged about never having my account fucked with a couple times. So it was about time, I think. So
yeah, well, it sucks because it was a great account. But
yeah,
it was one thing.
Some good pictures.
There was one thing.
Oh, with the bleach.
There was one thing, that kind of works better when mitigating and contaminating. There's just one product that works better than bleach, better than alcohol, better than DE, better than anything we talked about today. Dude, you have the key to this. Tell us what it is.
The key to the city. Yeah, it's so it works really good with bleach. 20% bleach and 80% CalMag. And it is, guys, we haven't talked about that a lot. But the CalMag, add the CalMag to anything you're doing here. You're going to be happy about it.
It'll be all right, everybody. Don't forget the CalMag. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Peace! Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome, long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 decades, because a ninth decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.